So it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this morning. Jane Erickson of Bellevue, Nebraska was elected to a 3-year term as trustee of Kiwanis International in July of this year at the 96th Annual International Convention in Geneva, Switzerland. A 21-year Kiwanian, Jane has been a member of the Bellevue Offutt Club the past 15 years. Prior to that, she was a member of the Fort Dodge Noon Club in Iowa. Serving as Distinguished Club President in 94-95, she's been a case advisor 11 years and was a Kiwanian of the Year in 2007-8. A trustee of the Kiwanis International Foundation from 2002-5, she was elected in 2007-8 as president. She has served as chair or member of several KIF and KI committees, is a key leader, facilitator, and recipient of Circle K International's the Kittrick Award. Is a Erickson Diamond Level 41, Table of Honor recipient, Founders Circle and Heritage Society member of the Foundation, and a Chartered Zeller Fellow for the New Global Elizabeth Project. Outside of Kiwanis, Jane is owner of the Wellness and Training Works in Bellevue. She's a member of St. Mary's Catholic Parish, the Bellevue Mayor's Drug and Alcohol Prevention and Education Commission, and the Omaha Women's Fund Ready to Serve Committee for training of board members. A school mentor, she serves on the advisory council for the school mentoring program with the Bellevue School District. Jane and her husband Gus, a past governor, have 5 children and 7 grandchildren. Please welcome Jane Erickson.
Okay, is the mic working? You can hear it? You have it? It is good. Working? Do you need it higher? Back table, you want it lower? Funny. Do you like that introduction by Kiwanis? Whoa! It's like, hey, put everything in there. Why didn't I just say this is Jane Erickson? She's from Nebraska. She's a wife, mom, grandmother to 7 amazing children, and she's here on time. Woo! Wouldn't that be enough? Yes. As we're getting ready to go, we are leaving from here on Tuesday. We'll be home about 24 hours, and then we're going to Virginia. And it's interesting, I had 2 different rooms filled with clothes and training activities and things to do. And when I work, I also had some briefcases sitting in there. And when I do my trainings in the companies and the organizations, I often use kids' toys. And so on Monday, I had our 4- and 7-year-old grandchildren. The littlest one, 4-year-old, is the only girl. And of course, she's captain, I'm in charge of everything. And as she's going through some of my things, she is saying to her brother, "Oh, Gavin, you're not supposed to be touching Gavin's stuff." And I looked over and she had a puzzle in her hand. I said, "What's that in your hand?" "I'm just looking at it." I said, "I know, were you not just being Captain Manners telling your brother not to go through my things?" "Well, yeah, he's not supposed to touch them, but I'm just looking at it." I was like, have you ever talked to a Kiwanian that kind of went right over their head? It's like, okay, I don't think she's getting it. And she said, she's looking at this, the little puzzles that I just put on your table. She's looking at this, saying, "Are you working with kids?" And I started to laugh. And my grandson said, "Yeah, tall ones." I looked over and gave him the evil eye. And he said, "Okay, was that one of those that's funny but not appropriate?" He goes, "Well, it was a good one, wasn't it?" He said, "Are you working with those Kiwanian old guys again?" Hey, I resemble that remark. So, this morning we are going to be talking about things that are puzzling. We're going to be talking about clubs. We're going to talk about Kiwanis. We're going to talk about fun. We're going to talk about things that are meaningful. And we're going to do it all through a puzzle that you have on your table. Did you not get one? Oh, bummer. I got it. Oh, well, if my lovely assistant would actually finish, yeah, that would be good. Does everybody have one now? Does everybody have a puzzle at your table? Okay, here are the rules. Oh, Red, are you sitting back here all by yourself? Aww. Are there other people coming? You think? Well, it's entirely up to you if you'd like to sit there by yourself, or you may join another group, or another group could say, "Oh my goodness, why don't you join us?" Okay, one voice out of this entire room. All right, here's the deal. In the next 2 minutes, you will, as efficiently as possible, as a new team, because look around your table, this is your new team. Okay, I'm going to you want a different table. Too late. All right. With your table mates, every one of you must touch the puzzle piece. Everyone contributes. There are no slackers in this group. When I say go, you're going to open the bag. Don't tear it. Just open the bag. Okay, you're going to have to move some of the water, whatever you're going to do. Are you ready? Yeah. Everybody touches those puzzle pieces. On your mark. Get set. Yes, some of you will have to stand up. Go. Go, go, go. Oh my God. Well, why? Just to make it clear.
Look at that Vern Gilbertson guy going. Look at that. You can tell those ex-bankers, you know, they just got that real...
That's what they do during the day. They want to do puzzles. If anything is puzzling, you didn't move it.
Oops, sorry.
I think we could do better by looking at the back.
Now, as you're putting those together, I want you to hear the comments being made around you.
There's a corner.
There's a corner.
Are they supportive comments?
There's another corner.
I want you to listen to the verbiage. What are people saying around you? Oh, that is
Yeah, just ice. We're fine.
Gus, are you helping over there? They letting you help?
No.
Is everybody touching the puzzle pieces?
Well, we didn't know he was part of our puzzle. Women were. The normal. Yeah.
Oh, you're doing well done. We have one group finished, two groups finished. Good job, good job. Nicely done.
Mostly right.
Keep going. Keep going. We have one new member coming in. Would one of your groups like to adopt a new member?
Yes.
Right here. I'd like a new member. Oh, there's some sneaking in. Hold on, I just want to make sure you come in loud. Oh, yes, this looks like this table could use a little help. Here, put it in the water. Well done. Yeah, I
One of these things don't look like the other.
Yeah.
One of these things isn't the same.
What do we want?
Who's got Kitty for?
So do you need a little help at this table over here? Here we are.
Everybody's supposed to touch the puzzle.
I've been on it.
Come on, touch this puzzle.
That's entirely up to you.
They're numbered on the back. Well, that fits.
If you are, will you take your seat again? There's a few things we want to talk about. Alright, let's have you take a seat if you have your puzzle completed. So what's going on up here? I want you to take a look at your puzzle. Can y'all hear me? I want you to take a look at your puzzle because that is your Kiwanis club. Every one of those pieces represents a member of your club. Every one of those pieces represents a project, represents committee meetings, represents your strategic plan. I want you to know that when you do your puzzles, your clubs, you need to have everything ready before you start. And as a grandmother, I can hear all kinds of things being said. Even in this very loud environment, I could pick up these comments. And there are pieces over here. The puzzles were already being put together. And over here, Ron is struggling. He can't get the Ziploc bag open. And I love it. John said, oh, would you give it to me, please, so I can just open it? And I love your comment. If you spent a little more time in the kitchen, you might know how to open it. How can we apply that to our Kiwanis clubs? I love those comments. How can you apply that? Somebody tell us that. Absolutely. We need to have you coming. We need to have you show up. And show up means to be here in mind, body, and spirit. So this morning, in fact, through this convention, I'm going to challenge each one of you to show up in mind, body, and spirit. That doesn't mean your body's sitting here and your mind is somewhere else. And the spirit is, oh, why did I come this weekend? Why did I sit at this table? I told you I can hear all kinds of things from up here, and I can see all kinds of things. Some of you may be thinking, wow, how did she get to be trustee? Why is she here? Okay? Mind, body, and spirit, totally focused here with what we're doing, because this is your club. And look at that puzzle. This is your delivery system to help your children in your communities and communities around the world. This is your delivery system. Now, what would have made your trip, your little adventure putting that puzzle together, what would have made it easier? If you had all the pieces, if you had all the tools. Although a lot of times in our Kiwanis clubs, we don't have all the pieces and we don't even go look for them. We might be missing some very clear parts of our membership. Yet we say, well, that's not my job. That's Lori's job. She's the governor. And that's Corey's job. He's income. Where'd Corey go? That was Corey. Oh, sorry, Beth. Corey was sitting there before. We don't talk about the pieces, or we think it's somebody else's job. And now, what else would make this easier?
Get the big picture.
If you had the big picture, which I deliberately took out of your puzzle bags. Here are your big pictures. Yes, that would have made your job a lot easier, wouldn't it? You would have known you're putting together ducks. And you would have known you had the kitties. Right? How many of you start your year in Kiwanis like this? You know, it says Kiwanis on it. This is how many pieces, this is how many members we have, and this is what we have. This is where we're going. We don't tell people who we are, what we do, why we're doing it, where we're going, or how we're going to get there. If you start your year without a plan, how do you know where you're going? I do a lot of strategic planning in companies and organizations. I've been working with the university. One of the university higher-ups said, I'm not putting my plan on paper. If I do that, someone can prove that I either did or did not do it. Ding, 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 ding. Okay? Had him write this. Then I looked at the plan. Said, I don't know what this does. I said, that's my point.
It's better.
Then my supervisor can't prove I didn't do it. How many of you have read Jim Collins' Been to Great? He talked about being on the right bus, the right seat on the bus. That person was on the wrong bus. I was like, okay, put him on a train someplace. This is not going to work. Okay? Incoming presidents. How many incoming presidents do we have in this room? Well, you don't have to go. Get a call on you. How many incoming lieutenant governors? Should do it, 8 of you? Okay. How many incoming Kiwanis? You're like, I don't have a clue what that means. Are you coming into a new year here, October 1st? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's all of us. Okay, we should have excitement about being able to finish this year and going right into the next one. Yay! Yeah! Woo! That's what we want to hear. We want us to be as exciting as the party light ladies are. They're having a great time out here. I'm walking through going, yeah, this is a good group. You guys are excited. I want to be in this group. And I can tell you, I walked in the back of this room and I heard this. This group needs to be so excited that they want to be part of us. We want this to be so exciting that you can feel it when you walk by the room. How many of your clubs look like that kind of an exciting one? Yours does?
No, I haven't. Bob Fleming.
You need Bob Fleming?
Yeah.
Okay. Bob, you are a needed and wanted man. Bobby, you said stuff ahead of time to get out of here. But don't have a grandmother, I know all of them. Yeah. The old, my phone is ringing. I think I better go answer it. Yeah. All right. We need to have a picture. So when you're coming in your club in October 1st, you need to have a plan in place of what you're going to look like by the end of the year. And that is a club that's going to be thriving, not just surviving. Do they look different? Yes, the difference between this one and this one. Absolutely. So think about your club. What are you going to be doing with that? What else can we do to make that easier as you're putting it together? How many of you put the outside pieces together first?
You got the straight edge.
Oh, because you had straight edge. That way you had something to follow, right? You knew how big it was. You knew what you were going after at that point. How many of you just grabbed pieces and just started going? What was the verbiage? What were you hearing as you're doing this? Let's see what was interesting back here. Yeah. Repeat some of those things you were saying. Okay, some of them. Be selective. Okay. Were they encouraging words?
No comment.
I love, what was your comment, Sandy, about your team? Very competitive and had fun while they did it. Absolutely. You guys are flying up here. You each had the pieces. You each took part. What happened in your teams when you had people that pulled back and weren't actually touching the pieces? They got yelled at? Okay, Elaine, not what I was going for, but then. What kind of encouragement do we have in our clubs for those who are what we call the outliers? Maybe have missed a couple weeks, and after you miss a couple weeks in Kiwanis, it's a lot easier not to come back. So what do we do with those people? How do we gently draw them back in? Or how do we just go pick them up and bring them in? Okay? It's like one of my lieutenant governors, when I was lieutenant governor, one of my club secretaries, he was never at our division council meetings, not ever. And we knew the night that we had those meetings, he was on the golf course. And I said, well, if it's easier, we will meet in your community. So we did. He still wasn't there. We met at the golf course. I knew where he was. How many of you know where he was? Yes. And how many of you know that at a bar, there's often a big mirror there? Yeah. He was sitting at the bar, so I just took the rest of our division council meeting. I said, okay, don't say anything. We're just all going to come in and we're going to line up behind mine. And all of a sudden, the bartender came over and he kind of clicked like this on the bar and got Mike's attention. He went. He looked up in the mirror and he saw all of us. And I'm standing right beside him. He looked back and he said, I really hate you. You know, he didn't miss one of those council meetings after that. But I also know where you live. Just come to your house. I don't have a problem with that. Think about how you put those puzzle pieces together and how you draw people in. Now, I also want you to notice with your puzzle, and some of you are very quick with this, you notice that some of the pieces fit, yet didn't give you the picture you wanted? How many of you noticed that right off? How many of you still haven't noticed that you haven't? It took you a while. In our club, it's very often that the pieces fit, but they no longer give you the picture of what you need in your community. Communities change over time. I sat in one of my clubs and listened as they talked about a fundraiser that lost $505. I said, is this a new fundraiser for you? Oh no, we've done it for 20 years. Do you not find it awkward that you lost $505 on it? Well, yes, but the guy that's in charge, well, he's a good guy. We don't want to hurt his feelings. Do you lose this much money every year? Oh no, every year it gets worse. What does one say after that? Cool. We have a puzzle where the piece fit is not giving us what we need. So what did you do? I love it. Lori, you're the first one I noticed. She's up like this, and she said, all right, I've got to go find it. And now, which table, I don't remember which table it was, somebody said, Jane, you messed up these pieces. And I thought, I love it. Because in our society, it's always somebody else's issue, isn't it? Did I mess those pieces up? Absolutely. Absolutely deliberately. Do you all have your own pieces right now, by the way? There's an extra? Who has the deer, by the way? Deer.
Maybe a deer for a horse.
So did y'all not notice that the horse didn't fit in there? Derek, we made it sure we cut all the ears. Do you want to put the deer in there and I will take the verse?
We're being inclusive.
Oh, they're being inclusive. I tell you what, how many think that's just an excuse? I love it. Some clubs never notice that the pieces fit but don't look right. Some get up and immediately say, you know what, we need something else in our club. Can you help us with this? Do you happen to have something we can trade? Is there something else we can do? This is a wealth of information right here. You look around this room. There are people in this room who can help you with your club. They have all kinds of ideas they can share with you. Too often, we come to these events and we don't ask any questions. We don't walk up to anybody and say, what are you selling Kiwanis? What brings you back every week? What brings you to the project? Why are you passionate about this? Or tell me your favorite fundraiser. Or tell me your most disastrous project. What is something that bombed so bad in your club? People like to know those, right? What's a fundraiser that you just did that didn't work? There's tons of sharing going on in here. Okay, which one do you have there, Gus? You have a horse? Okay, first 10 goes in that one. You're good to go. Your horses are all in order. Boy, there's so many lines if you come after that. I'm thinking my grandson. Okay, funny but not appropriate? Pretty much, yeah. Now, with those puzzles, how can you take this back and use this in your club? Pardon me? Oh, well, actually, the puzzles need to come back home with me. I didn't mean literally take that one home with me. I should have probably rephrased that. These are kids' puzzles, by the way. And I learn a lot by hanging around our grandchildren. I bought 2 new puzzles, one for the 4-year-old, one for the 7-year-old, because they don't share all that well. They were sitting at the kitchen counter and got the pieces mixed up. And I heard the little one say, Gavin, that's not fair. You got my pig. And he said, well, that's not fair. You got my bunny. What? And I heard him say, hey, these fit. What? Hey, now I'm going to use those. And then, of course, they said, now, wait a minute, these are for kids. I said, well, I have big kids, too. That's where that came from. I always hang around with these big kids. That's right. But aren't these wonderful learning tools? This is a great one to use in your board before you start doing your strategic planning. Write 2 puzzles. If you can find the ones that are die cut, great. Now you have your bunny sitting up, taking notice. Is that what he's doing? The bunny sitting up straight, saluting. Well done. Only at this table. Roy Bird, right? Did you have help from this one? Troublemaker? Yes, I'm sure you did. Do it. These are things you can take home. The ideas, I need to have the puzzles back. If you will leave the puzzles right in the middle of your table, that would be fabulous. The next part of this, and we aren't going to do that in this particular group, but the next part you can do in this is to blindfold one member of your team, and that blindfolded member is the only person who can touch the puzzle pieces. It's a whole study in communication. And the other pieces other people at the table are the only ones who can direct. So that person who is blindfolded is the only one who can touch the pieces. And it's marvelous listening to how you speak with each other, how you direct, how you guide. I was working with a high-level administrator, and I knew immediately where the issue was. It was the way he communicated. Very directive, very bold. This poor woman was blindfolded and heard him continue to say, "Pick up the yellow piece." What is your problem? Pick up the yellow piece. And I let him say it a couple times, and then I went over like this, and I leaned down, and I said, "She's blindfolded." And he went, "What?" I said, "She can't see the yellow piece." And everybody at his table went. And he looked at me and said, "Is this the way I run our meetings and I work with you also?" And they all went. Like, yeah. He was pretty embarrassed by that, but then later said, that was a very effective way of teaching me how I communicate. I had no idea this is what I was doing. He was giving directives. They had no idea what he was talking about, but they were afraid to say anything to him. Do you have people in your clubs who are doing the same kinds of things? So, how do we take this and put this back into our club? Let's take our hand up. Connecting with ease. 3 things. Going to educate, engage, and empower. This is how we take our clubs from where they are now into amazing clubs that people want to join. They come and knock on your door and say, "I like the way this sounds. I like the way this is." In terms of educate, we want Kiwanis who know who we are, what we do, why we're doing it, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. In terms of engage, we want Kiwanis who are inspired and who are not afraid to say, "Yes, I'm a Kiwanian. I'm glad to be a Kiwanian." Well, don't want to hide it. How many of you are passionate about being a Kiwanian? Should be all of you. How many of you are passionate about being alive? How many of you got up this morning and went, "Whoa, look at this, I'm back"? I don't know how that happened. That's amazing. That's so much cool. You know, see, and I know. I mean, look at Ron. I know. Look at his eyes. Ron and Keith. These are both troublemakers. Well, look at Ray Bird. I am a reader of eyes, and your eyes are the windows to your soul. They tell whether or not you are passionate about being alive. Photo man, when you put that camera down, I looked at your eyes and thought, "He's up to something." Okay? So be careful with the photo man over here, because he's going to catch you with that camera in positions you probably shouldn't be doing. But isn't that right? You can tell by the way you're grinning. You're good.
It'll be up on Facebook.
Yeah. Where's Richard? I'm already on Facebook. Where's Richard? Oh, yeah, behind the camera. So I'm probably live streaming on Facebook right now. No edits, right? Cool. To educate, to engage, to empower, to give people the skills they need to go out and sell this to others. Absolutely. How do we do it? Let's take a look. Educate. I used to give out the pins that had a little question mark on them that said, "Ask me about Kiwanis." After a meeting, I had one of the gentlemen bring it back. So I can't wear this. Okay, I'm puzzled by that. Why can't you wear it? He said, "Because I'm afraid people will actually ask me." But I won't know what to say. I thought, "Oh my goodness, he must be a new member." So I said, "How long have you been a Kiwanian?" He said, 26 years. Okay, does that not strike you as odd? That a Kiwanian of 26 years would be afraid to wear a pin that says, "Ask me about Kiwanis"? That means we're not doing a good enough job in terms of education. On the top of that page, would you write down communicate? Inside, where it says educate, On the very white space, click communicate. Because that's the basis of everything we're doing. Kiwanis is all about building relationships, all about building connection. And you build those connections through communication. I love the top one. Learn 2 new things in every meeting, every project, every interaction that you have. I have 4 sisters. The entire time I've been growing up, and forever and all. Do we need more handouts? There are lots more. If you don't have one, let us know. There are lots more up here. The whole time I was growing up, my dad would say, learn 2 new things every day. So, what 2 new things have you learned since you've been here? How many do you use today? 2? Got it. You need one? Ellie, you need one? Okay. What 2 new things have you learned since you've been here, Ellie?
That they make puzzles that have pieces shaped like animals.
Absolutely. That there are puzzles with pieces shaped as animals. Isn't that the coolest thing to realize today? It's like, yes, it's a pig. How many of you didn't realize those were cut? Some of them were pigs, some were... Don't raise your hand. Live with an awareness. What else have you learned since you've been here? My goodness, this should be a challenge to you. Learn 2 new things. Party like doing this. That party like doing this. There you go. And you know what? Party like might be going, wow, do you know that Kiwanis in Western Canada still exists? We need to let everybody know who we are and what we do. Learn 2 new things. Every session that you're in this weekend, learn 2 new things. Might be a joke, might be the name of a new person you can contact, somebody who's going to help you with a service leadership program, maybe it's somebody who does K-Kids, maybe it's somebody who knows more about finances than you do. Maybe it's Bob Morrison, you're going to meet Bob Morrison, Bob Fleming. They know a lot about membership, they can help you. My goodness, learn 2 new things, and that is your responsibility to learn those. Our job is to get the information out, your job is to catch it. All right, now, other things that we could do to educate. Every club meeting should have some kind of education put in it. In my old club, where I very first started, and we had a district court judge, and he took it upon himself to research. He loved research. He would find 2 of the most obscure Kiwanis facts. And then he would tell us at those meetings. Half the time we'd go, He would always tell us where he got them, so we could back up those facts. I learned more from Fred Reed in those years that he did what they called Fred's factoids. They were wonderful. And then they would hide things in newsletters. And if you knew the answer, then you won something in the meeting. They'd hide it in a bulletin. They'd ask a question. It was great. I found myself studying more, knowing more about Kiwanis. I thought, this is fun. Those obscure facts that absolutely did make a difference to me. They were fun. So, anybody else have an idea of how you could put some of those in? No ideas? How many of you do new member orientation? If you don't, circle that one. Big time. And I want to suggest that every year you do an all-member orientation. At least once a year you have an all-member orientation. So that all members are on the same page. You all know what you're talking about. You can all sell it. Absolutely. You can do this through your projects. There's a great project that we do in the Nebraska-Iowa district promoting dictionaries to all 3rd graders in our area. We do it with all the schools in our community. We're from a community of 50,000. And every 3rd grader every year gets a dictionary. Now granted, these are your dictionaries. These are the Canadian version. You can order these. I have 3 different ones in here that they sent so I can bring them along to you. Great project for education. The kids love these. Absolutely go crazy waiting every year to get their own dictionary, which they get to keep. In the inside cover, we put a little sticker that says, compliments and a gift to you from the Bellevue Offutt Kiwanis Club, from your friends, the Bellevue Offutt Kiwanis Club. And their name is in it. And they think that is so cool. And I have to tell you what happened with education with one of our members from our Golden K Club. He had to be the crustiest old man, the crabbiest old goat I had ever met. And I encouraged him and said, you need to get involved in some of your projects. He gave me what my granddaughter endearingly calls the stink eye. He glared down at me. He crossed his arms. Kind of like Bill Parker's doing. And then he glared and just tipped his shoulder to me. He said, "Someday you'll get yours." Well, I hope so. I've been waiting a long time. He came up to me one day and he looked down at me and he goes, "I have a bone to pick with you." I thought, "Oh, I'm so shocked." And I said, "Yes." He was being very gracious. And he said, "I did what you said. I get involved in a project." "Yes." "I went to a school." "Yes." "There were children there."
No.
"At a school?" "I wonder who let them in." "Did you report it?" I said, "Don't start with me." He said, "There were children there, and you know that I don't like children." See, I've always thought he was a Kiwanis who didn't like children. So you go for the half donut and a cup of coffee every morning? Wow, cool. Every Tuesday morning. And then he softened. His shoulders dropped a little bit and he said, "I have to tell you something. What's that dumb project?" He handed out dictionaries, third graders. And then he started kind of rocking back and forth a little bit. And I thought, oh my goodness, this big man is getting very emotional standing here. There's no one else around. And he teared up. He said, this little kid came and he wrapped his arms around my leg and he looked up and he said, "Hey, Mr. Kiwanis Grandpa." He said, "Thank you so much for giving me this book. It's the first book I've ever had in my whole life that's my own." He said, "And do you know I get to take it home?" He said, "I'm going to be the only one of my brothers and sisters that has my own book. And it teaches me words." And he said, that little kid was hanging on to my leg so tight. And then this tear dripped down his face. And I looked up and said, "Is that a tear?" "No." "You ever tell anybody I'll lie and say I didn't go?" He said, "Now you're a Kiwanian." He said, "Now you have your own story to tell. Now you know why you come back." He never missed. He went on to be a reader in that little school. They loved him. He was still one of the crustiest, meanest old ghosts I'd ever met till the day he died. Every time I saw him, I'd go, and he'd go. And then right before he passed me, he'd grin and wink. I thought, yep. I thought, hook, really mean, didn't we? Educate. That's a wonderful project. The dictionary project. Wonderful way for you to get in and educate. Now, we need to make certain that our members are educated. Bottom line, if you will circle that, please, put a big star on it. You can't sell what you don't know. You can't sell what you don't know. Educate Kiwanians. Make certain we all know who we are, what we're doing, where we're going, why we do it. We need to have a strategic plan for our club. We need to follow it. We need to go after it. And the plan has to be more than just, I don't want to be the one responsible for killing my club. I can tell you the number of times I've heard that over the years. Or, I just want to leave it at least the way I found it. No, we want it to be wonderful by the time you leave it. We don't want people applauding at the end of your year because you're leaving. Like, oh, thank goodness he's finally leaving. Or, thank goodness we lived. She didn't kill us that bad. Right? Can't tell what you don't know. Let's move to engage. On the top of that page, right? Communicate. Tell your story. Create a winning atmosphere that people want to be a part of. If they want to be part of your winning team, create that family atmosphere that's fun, that's meaningful. You want to feel important and needed in your club. Part of the in-group, important and needed. If you could go away right now from your club and no one would notice, you need to kick it up a notch. Right? Absolutely. If you have people that don't feel important and needed in your club, find a place for them. We're all bringing different gifts to this. Find a place where each of your members can excel at this, where they can tell their stories, where they have their stories to tell. I was standing in Geneva at a bus stop, at the bus stop from the convention center back. A tall gentleman came over and stood next to me and he said, "I hear you're running for trustee." "I am." He said, "What's your platform?" I thought, cool. No one has asked me that. Said 3 things: educate, engage, and empower. Said, tell me about it. Gave him a little brief deal about everyone. Stood there, put his hands in his pockets, and he said, I'm not engaged. I am not inspired to be a Kiwanian. Find nothing inspiring about it at all. Said, are you a new member? No. You a board member? Kind of. I'm the incoming president of my club. Oh. Tell me where he was from? I said, oh my goodness. I did a key leader event there. Would you like me to tell you a story about one of your own kids? He said, would it help? I said, I don't know. Give it a try. Said a young man in one of your groups? An angry young man. Didn't want to be there. We did a part on values during that presentation. We talk about values and have them write down the 8 top things they value, and then they tear away pieces of that. And we do sometimes wicked things with those papers, kind of dishonor their values. Sounds really harsh. It's a long process, and we debrief it very well at the end. Yet what happened is that I took a couple of those pieces. One of them happened to be his dad. I came back into the room. This young man and 2 young women were on the floor going through this sea of papers, teeny tiny little pieces of paper with things written on them. And I got down on the floor with them and I said, tell me what you're doing. And he said, I'm trying to find my dad. And tears are rolling down his face. I said, what do you mean you're trying to find your dad? And he said, when you told us to tear off something that we value and give it away, the first one I tore off was my dad. And I said, oh my goodness, you didn't really tear your dad off. He said, yes, I did. Because it took me 10 hours to get here by bus, and I didn't want to be here. He made me come to this event this weekend. And I was mad at him when I got out of the car, and I slammed the door and said, I hope I never see you again. I got on the bus and I left. He said, you don't understand. I gave my dad away. And then I looked at the 2 girls who were also crying. One of them said, then I took the rest of his family. And the other one said, and I took his integrity. So here I am on the floor with these 3 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, sifting through pieces of paper, trying to say, these aren't your values. These are pieces of paper. And as long as you have built this awareness now, I said, tell me about your dad. And he said, I realize now that you've been talking that my dad believes in me, and he sees that I am more valuable than I think I am. And my dad believes in me enough to shove me out the door and say, you are going to this. He said, my dad loves me. And I'm crying. Now the floor is on the floor, blubbering, looking through these papers. I took out my phone and I said, let's do something even better. Let's call your dad. He called his dad, sat in the middle of that floor, this big kid sat in the middle of that floor and cried. Said to his dad, we're going to do something different when I come home. You and I are going to build a relationship and we're going to work together. I thought, yes. And on Sunday, that big kid came to me, that 15-year-old, wrapped his arms around me, and he said, I promise you right here and right now, I never will give up my dad again. And I thought, yes. He said, will you tell the Kiwanians that you meet thank you from me? I said, I will. He said, will you tell them thank you from my dad? I will. I thought, how cool is that? By the time I finished that story, I looked up at that president and he said, wow. We do this for the Kiwanis family? I said, yep. Every one of your members has a story to tell. It's in here somewhere. You just have to find it. And we need to tell people these stories because this is what we do and why we do this. And the second benefit is pretty cool. He reached over, shook my hand, and he gave me a hug, and he said, you know what, I like you. I said, well, thank you. He said, and I like your husband. Okay. He said, oh, I rode the bus with him this morning. He said, he told me stories kind of like this too. I said, wow. He said, you're good people. I said, Kiwanians are good people. He said, you feel free to stop anybody wearing a Kiwanis name tag. They all have stories to tell. This is happening in every one of our clubs worldwide. This is what we need to tell. We are making a difference. And this is how you engage, how you reach out and wrap your arms around potential members and around current members. You all have stories to tell. It's time we tell them. You can tell them in your club meetings. We call it tell it too. You have 2 minutes to tell us. Anytime it comes to a low part in our meeting, our president will invariably call on me because, wow, I've just been fortunate enough to be in a lot of these situations where I get to tell your stories. You tell me and then I get to retell them, which are very, very powerful. So isn't that cool? Think Think of how many people you can engage by telling your stories. All right, now, what are the ways that we engage people in our club meetings? Make them meaningful. Make them fun. I was telling a couple of you that when I was lieutenant governor, I had a president who came to me and said, "I'm not fun." Ted practiced me at that face. "I'm not fun." I said, "Well, right now I believe that to be true." I said, "Yes. Our club meetings aren't going to be fun with me as president." I said, "How can you work through that? Do you have anyone fun in your club?" "Yes. I have one man who actually I've been told is quite funny." Oh, whoa, this is going to be a big one. Anyway, she engaged him. She pulled him in and said, "Will you be the fun master in our club?" His job was to find one or two jokes, and he actually was very funny. They were appropriate jokes, they were funny. He took a long time to find them. He did a great job at it. Their club meetings became very fun. Their club started to grow, and I happened to be there one day when she put a one-liner in there, and the club, for 2 nanoseconds, stopped and went, and looked at her. She goes, "I believe that might have been funny." That was funny. She said, "Wow, perhaps I'm catching on. It's fun." Never changed face, and then went right back to what she was doing. Like, that was totally cool. Like, I have to learn how to do that. All right. How else do we engage? We become like families. Now, I can tell you that's not for everyone. However, one of the most wonderful things that Gus and I have been blessed with as kind of a secondary thing for being able to help kids is being able to meet amazing people around the world. Like, this is like coming home. This is like a family reunion for us. This is the 3rd time we've been to your district. This is wonderful. All these wonderful old friends. We were trying to reminisce on when we first met. Now, we don't even remember. We worked on an international committee together, Keith and I, and he was in trouble back then, and I was just the young protege following, and I followed in his footsteps. Now, look where that got me. Those connections are very, very important. When your club members are gone, find out why they're gone. Pull them back in. Take a picture of your club and white somebody out in it, and send it and say, "Wow, we missed you when you're not here." That's great. Imagine getting a card like that that says, "We missed you." I'd love that. We're gone so many times, and I work so many times on Fridays during our club meetings. That's a high time for me in my profession. I work a lot of conferences, a lot of conventions on Fridays. So they introduce me as a guest when I come back. Very funny. They do send me cards. "We miss you. Are you ever coming back?" Or, "Dear James, wherever you are in the world, we want you to know we're thinking of you." That means a great deal to me. I just got one last night from our club president, from Terry. Actually, I didn't show that to you guys. That said, "Wherever you are, we'll miss you on Friday." It's like, aww, how cool is that? He meant next Friday. It was one of those hint, "Are you coming back?" It's like, "Well, we'll be in Virginia next Friday. We'll miss you also." Very cool. Let your members know they're missed. If you need to have some energy, have you ever had a time where you just had a lull? If you do, go visit one of your K Kids, one of your T Clubs, Action Club meetings. Absolutely fabulous energy. Your Circle Kers can pop some energy into your group or Zoe. Isn't that true? Oh, absolutely. High energy, great jokes, great stories. They will be the ones that will teach you. Our K Kids, that's why I keep doing this. This will be my 12th year as K Kids advisor. They keep me humble, and that's where I learn. Every time the 4th graders will say something. The 4th graders who are coming in, hilarious, 9, 10 years old. Remember the one who came and she wrapped her arms around me and she said, "Oh, you are so fun for an old person." I was thinking, and one of the teachers looked over like, "Don't touch the children." I've been thinking it. Now, how else can we do this? How do you engage? Do you have any other ideas how you can do with your clubs? Shy group. Tell each other your stories at a break. Challenge you to walk up to somebody and say, "How do you do it? How do you inspire people in your club? How do you tell your stories?" If you don't have a story to tell, you come and talk to me, because I'll give you one, or we'll talk long enough that I'll pull yours out of you somehow. Because we all have them. Otherwise, you wouldn't come back. That's what keeps you coming back. Bottom line, you can't sell what you don't believe in. Do you believe in it? Do you believe in Kiwanis? Do you believe that one can make a difference? Absolutely. Whole key, one can make a difference. You can make a difference. How will you? That's the whole question. Now, if you need something to inspire you, how many of you are familiar with the simpletruths.com website? Bruce, you're the only one? All right, write that down. I should have put that on your handout. simpletruths.com. They have amazing 3-4 minute videos. They're absolutely stellar. And if you have Wi-Fi in your facility where you meet, you just take it right off their website. If you want to have it, they're $15.95 for the book and the DVD. They have tons of different kinds of resources. If you catch them on a good day, if you go register with them, they will send you specific days where you can buy them for $10 a piece. Fabulous for use. There is one called To a Child, Love is spelled T-I-M-E. To a Child, Love is spelled T-I-M-E. And it's a glorious video of an old, gray-haired guy sitting up in his attic going through journals. And he finds his son's journal from when his son was just a little boy. And he starts reading his son's journal, and you can see him kind of thinking, and he's reminiscing. And he goes downstairs into his big, spacious office, and he looks at his little kid's beat-up old journal, and he pulls his own leather-bound journal, very well written, pulls it off the shelf to that page 20-some years prior. And he says, "It's too bad my son and I don't speak as much anymore." I wonder what he was thinking back then. So you can see that the dates are the same in the journals. On the father's journal it says, "Took Johnny fishing today. Didn't catch a thing. What a waste of a day." And then he opens Johnny's precious little beat-up journal, and his little kid's handprint, it says, "Went fishing with my dad all day. Best day of my life." And it's so powerful to see through the eyes of a child that simply spending time with his dad made all the difference. That's very powerful to put in your club meeting. It's a great ender. And every club meeting needs to end not on an announcement, on a message. That's so powerful. If you want to engage your people, end on message. That's what you want to write in there. End it on a message. And that might be the message you leave them with to think about for the week. Not, "Okay, I'll see you at 9 o'clock on Saturday. You better show up or else." Right? Leave them on a message, something to think about all week long. Educate, engage, empower. Let's pop to the very last page. On the very top of that, will you write one word?
Communicate.
Communicate. Again, communicate, communicate, communicate. You can't communicate enough, and make it powerful, meaningful communication. Otherwise, people will stop listening to you. How do you empower? By leading by example. Don't ask anybody to do something you're not willing to do yourself. Everybody know what that means? Yep, time to step up and do things. Create a leadership succession plan. Groom your leaders. Start looking at the people in your clubs who could be club presidents with some grooming. Look for your lieutenant governors. See, these aren't the people that miss a meeting, and that's how they get elected. Or is that not how you do it here? I've been in a lot of districts, and I've heard a lot of scary stories. I had one gentleman. He was the meanest lieutenant governor I'd ever met in my life. And his presidents were complaining. So I met with the president separately, and I said, "Well, why did you vote him in?" He said, "First of all, I asked the lieutenant governor, why did you agree with it?" He said, "I didn't. I wasn't even at the meeting where they voted me in." So I went back to the president. "Why did you vote him in?" "Well, because he wasn't there." Okay, how do you counsel that group? How do you mentor that group? It's like, mad at each other? Well, why am I in here? Talk to each other. Well, the one was mad, they voted him in. The others were mad that he accepted it. Well, okay, work that one out. Think about who we want in these positions. People that can sell in a positive way. Absolutely, we're sharing these stories. And what about mentors? How many of your officers have mentors? How many of you have mentors? Very good. How many of you still have personal and professional mentors? I do. I will never get too old for mentors. Gus Erickson is one of my most amazing mentors. He's not afraid to help guide, steer. Every once in a while say, what are you thinking? Well, apparently I wasn't. Right? Wonderful mentors. My parents are still amazing mentors for me. And I learn a lot from my children. I hang around my two daughters. One is a teacher, high school teacher. I learned an incredible lot from her. The other one is a professional bodybuilder and professional fitness coach. She's a nurse. Amazing things come out of their mouths that I learned that I can pass on. Same thing needs to happen with our current and incoming officers and our prospective officers. Take them under your wing. We've got a lot of past governors in here, a lot of past lieutenant governors. Looking for things to do? If you're not looking for things to do, we'll still find you things to do. You have a wealth of knowledge that you can help share. Now, a big one, delegate, don't dump. That's very different. How many of you have people that know how to delegate and delegate well? You have others that simply dump and walk away? Here, it's your job, you do it. We need to empower people by giving them the skills they need. Bottom line on that, we need to energize the vision to empower. People need to know what we're doing, where we're going, how we're going to do it. Energize the dream so that every child is happy, healthy, safe, and loved. We have powerful experiences to share. I sit in a group on the East Coast. 80 kids in a circle, 80 high school students. One of those students had been the fingernails on the blackboard of my life the entire weekend. And everybody knew his name because I kept saying it. And then I would stand closer to it. And then I said, what's your middle name? I started with first and middle name. It's like, shapes up. Seriously. Then it was the, may I touch you, and the hand on his shoulder. And he said, your fingernails are digging into my shoulder. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Trying to get his attention. However, Saturday afternoon, I looked that kid eye to eye again. Well, he was like this. Looked him eye to eye and said, you are a valuable human being. You are an amazing young leader. I know that. I feel that. The problem is that you don't know that. And you don't buy that. That you've been given a gift by Kiwanis International, a gift to be in this leadership weekend. Your challenge is to open that gift and use it. Do you not understand the abilities that you have? You have your own gifts, and you're choosing to use them to sidebar us. We can't have that. Pull it back in. Use this for good. That kid stood up at the end in front of all his peers and said, I want you to know this has been the most valuable weekend of my life, being with each and every one of you. You see, the men in my life don't live to be past 18. I'm inner city. We're gangs where I live. My brothers, my cousins, my uncles, my neighborhood, most of us are shot by the time we're 18, or we die in some other way. I was horrified. You could have heard a pin drop in that room. I watched as a tear ran down his face, and he said, I want you to know for the first time in my 18 years, I know there's a reason for me to live past 18. I know I have the skills now to make a difference in somebody else's life. I can be the one to make a difference. But what was holding me back is that I didn't believe it. He said, now because of each and every one of you and because of Kiwanis, I believe it. He said, I'm telling every one of you here, I will make a difference in the world because of Kiwanis. I looked around and thought, look at the big football players. Look at all the tears. I thought, cool. And I've been crying for ever since he started talking because I didn't know what he was going to say. It was powerful. Think about that. Each one of us in this room, each one of us in our clubs has that ability to make a difference in the lives of others. We hold that power right in our own hands. Take a look at your hands. That's where the power is. One can make a difference. You can make a difference. The question is, how will you make that difference? So as you leave here, within seconds, you can stand up knowing you're a different person. You can be a person committed to educate, to engage, and empower. And you can be the one to make that difference. So will you?
Yes.
Okay, not loud enough. So will you? Yes. One ta-da, and then we are moving on to our breakout sessions. Celebrate everything that you're doing in Kiwanis. When's the last time you ta-da? Last time I was here? Way too long. Okay, that means hands up. We don't ta-da on each other. Make sure you get enough room. Right? On the count of three, we want everyone to know that the Western Canada Kiwanis is a force to be reckoned with for children's needs. We are the go-to people in the communities here. If people need something for kids in communities, we are the one. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Yes! Thank you. Oh my goodness. From my heart. Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We're looking forward to great things.
One question. Did you follow the life of that young man? That was an 18-year-old. Was that just recently?
That was just recently. That was in May of this year. Yep. And hopefully I will see him a week from Monday when we have a key leader reunion and when I will be in Annandale, Maryland. So hopefully we will see him again in August. Looking forward to it.
How well he was able to progress?
We're following him. He's actually going to do a spot for the marketing department in Kiwanis. Thank you much. And now I understand it's time to move on.
Jane, on behalf of the Western Canada District, I want to thank you for engaging us, energizing us, and empowering us, and helping us realize that we all hold the ability to inspire, engage, empower our own members of our club, and that's what we need to do. And on behalf of the district, we got you a little token of our appreciation.
Oh, thank you. Do I get to open it?
Good morning, folks. I hope you really enjoyed that session. How about another round for Jane?